You've seen the pop-ups, you've definitely ticked the boxes, but what is GDPR, really? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on this super important regulation and figure out what it actually means for you and the data you're sharing every single day.
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves, right? I mean, every time you browse, or shop, or sign up for something new, you're leaving behind this digital trail. So who's really in the driver's seat when it comes to all that information? As we're about to see, the answer is a lot more interesting than you might think.
So to get to the bottom of it, here's our game plan. We'll start with the basics of what GDPR even is. Then we'll dive into its core principles. After that, we'll get to the good stuff, your rights. We'll also look at the rules companies have to follow, and finally, how this whole thing is actually enforced. Let's jump in. Okay, first up, what exactly is this thing? At its heart, you can think of GDPR as a kind of universal rulebook for the digital world, one that's designed to protect a fundamental right we sometimes forget about, our privacy. You know, before GDPR, data privacy in Europe was this confusing mess of different laws in different countries. This regulation just swept all that away and created one unified and really powerful standard. And the goal was actually pretty simple: to give you back control over your personal data no matter where it gets sent, processed, or stored. So what actually counts as personal data? Well, the definition is incredibly broad. It's not just the obvious stuff like your name or email. It also includes your location, your computer's IP address, your health info, even data about your online habits. Basically, if it can be linked back to you in some way, GDPR is designed to protect it.
Now, every good rulebook needs a solid foundation, and for GDPR, that foundation comes in the form of these core principles that every single organization has to follow, no exceptions.
This right here is truly the heart of the regulation. Article 5. It lays out the whole philosophy of data protection. You can think of it as the ethical checklist companies have to run through before they can even think about touching your personal information.
And there are 6 key rules here. First, your data has to be used lawfully and transparently. It can only be collected for a very specific, stated purpose. Plus, companies can only take what's absolutely necessary, no more grabbing extra data just in case. It also has to be kept accurate, stored only for as long as it's needed, and finally, and this is a big one, it has to be kept secure.
So we know the rules for the companies, but what does this all mean for you? Well, this next part is all about the power that GDPR puts directly into your hands.
What's really cool is that an entire chapter of the law, Chapter 3, is all about the data subject. And guess what? That's you. And these aren't just some vague suggestions. We're talking about concrete, legally enforceable rights that you can use at any time. And here are some of the heavy hitters. You have the right to get a copy of your data, to correct it if it's wrong, and even to take it with you to another service. You can also object to your data being used for stuff like direct marketing. It fundamentally puts you back in the driver's seat.
But perhaps the most famous right of all is Article 17, better known as the right to be forgotten. This is huge. It's the powerful right to request that a company completely delete your personal data. Now, there are a few exceptions, but it represents this monumental shift in power, moving it away from the corporation and back to the individual.
Okay, so we know our rights. Now let's flip the coin and look at the obligations this puts on businesses and other organizations. Who actually has to follow these rules?
To make sure someone is always accountable, GDPR creates 2 very distinct roles for any organization that handles your data. They're called the controller and the processor.
So who are they? Well, think of it like building a house. The controller is the architect. They're the one who decides why they need the data and how it's going to be used. The processor is the builder. They're the ones who carry out the work based on the architect's instructions. And here's the key. Both of them have serious legal responsibilities to protect your data.
Principles and rights are great, but what happens when they're ignored? Our final section looks at what gives GDPR its real teeth, the enforcement.
You know, a law is only as strong as its consequences. And that's exactly where Chapter 8 comes in. It's all about remedies, liability, and penalties, making sure that if your rights are violated, there are clear ways for you to seek justice.
And here's what you can actually do about it. You have the right to file a complaint with the Data Protection Authority, the right to take a company to court, and even the right to get financial compensation if you've suffered damages because of a violation. Now, for the companies, the stakes are incredibly high. Violations can lead to absolutely massive fines. We're talking up to 20 million euros, or 4% of a company's global annual turnover, whichever number is higher.
Now that is a powerful incentive to take data protection very, very seriously.
And the impact hasn't just been limited to Europe. Not at all. GDPR has really set a new global standard for data privacy. Countries all over the world, from Brazil to California, have created similar laws, and many were inspired by this groundbreaking European regulation. It truly started a worldwide conversation about our data rights.
So GDPR gave us this powerful toolkit to help protect our digital selves. But as technology like AI keeps evolving at a crazy pace, the whole landscape is constantly changing. And that leaves us with a really crucial question. GDPR set the standard, but what will the next generation of our digital rights even look like?